While attending university, I reside at home. I am currently in my last year of school and I will have a job after I finish. Since I was 16, my parents have been collecting rent from me. I founded a little business that brings in roughly $60,000. That's one of the reasons I caught the attention of recruiters and graduated from high school early. My folks believed I could assume adult responsibilities because I was making adult money. Since I didn't think university was a good idea, I started paying for everything on my own at the age of 16. Even though I was given a scholarship and only had to pay $300 a month in rent, I still thought of my room as entirely mine. They had no say in when I cleaned it, but I kept it immaculate after that since I prefer it that way. Apart from avoiding doing it at a time when I would wake up the family, like 3 in the morning, I did my laundry. I purchased food for myself and consumed it all. They attempted to portray me as isolating myself from the family, but I preferred to view it as a matter of my own schedule. I spent spring break in Mexico this year with several buddies. My parents were holding a large family get-together, which infuriated them. They suggested that because I wasn't present for a family get-together, I behaved terribly when I got back. I told them that I was not in charge of their schedule and that it was my final spring break in college. I chuckled and replied, "Good luck," and I went to lock my room when they informed me that I had been grounded. They kept hammering at it to get my attention, but I'm over it. Later, my grandfather stopped by to speak with me. He was instrumental in helping me launch my business and is a constant source of support. He claimed that when my parents tried to support me, I treated them rudely. When my mom was living at home, I asked him how much rent he charged. He declared that the idea of charging his children rent was absurd. I told him that I have 4 years of rent paid. As soon as he entered the house, I heard fighting. When he finally came out, he remarked that although I should show my parents more respect, they are not able to control how I spend my time because they are my landlords. I am currently living away from my parents and will be staying at an Airbnb till I graduate. I left $600 for my final 2 months there, and I brought everything that was really vital with me. I'm getting ready to go to my new work, but they keep calling. I can't get the energy to handle them, not the fool. To ease you into maturity, they charged you a tiny rent. You accepted it wholeheartedly and started covering all of your own expenses. They're angry now because you're starting to act on your independence. That space becomes legally the tenant's when they pay the rent. Legally, the landlord must give a 24-hour notice before entering the rented space, USA. They don't want to behave like a landlord. They want to treat you like a tenant. You were grounded, thus you are a legal adult. Lol indeed, best of luck. I hope you can forgive your parents and wish you luck in your bright and promising future. What they do is unknown to them. They made an attempt to ground a rent-paying 20-year-old. Or not, I can't believe that. Verify that all of your paperwork is in order, freeze your credit, and confirm that you are the only owner of all accounts. Then depart. Success with your new position. I understand that some individuals find it offensive when others discuss their family, but in all seriousness, your parents are at best foolish, and at worst self-centered fools. In exchange for forcing you to reside in the house they own, they want you to line their coffers. They ought to support your achievements and urge you to reinvest every penny in the business. Instead, after bringing you into the world against your will, they made the decision to feed off of you. The fact that they charged OP rent when OP was a kid is the point. They essentially took advantage of OP. They were more than worthy of the laugh, unless they actually depended on your $300 a month to get by. The moment they insisted that you pay to live at home, I would tell them, they forfeited their parental authority over you. Extreme self-centeredness. I truly apologize for you. Our neighbor Aide, who is, I believe, 6 months pregnant, lived immediately across from Opie, my family, my husband, and our 2 girls. Her husband's death from an intoxicated motorist 2 months ago brought our neighborhood closer together. The whole neighborhood pitched in to provide a hand, and the group still hosts barbecues every 2 months. We have experienced the absence of a parent. No, my husband did not pass away, but he was still in the military when we became pregnant, With our first child, we often checked on her, invited her over, and had chats about how to handle being on your own while pregnant, even though I know this is not the same thing she's going through. For the past few weeks, she has been pleading with my husband to be her handyman. This is nothing against my spouse, and up until about a week ago, neither was I. She no longer speaks to me much and has asked my husband for assistance with even the most basic of issues. Usually when she knocks, she asks if my husband is home. If I tell her no, she usually tells him that she needs him and leaves. Not conversing, sharing chai, nothing. I'll admit that this made me feel strange and a little jealous. She seemed to solely want my husband in the picture. I made an effort to ignore these emotions up until the first occurrence. She essentially just knocked on my door and gave me a tray of cookies that was covered. She cut me off when I was about to thank her for the girl's love of cookies, saying these were only for my husband and not for us. I thanked her, a nasty feeling in my mouth. I got the impression that she was attempting to maintain a huge house and a small house. I told my hubby what had happened and how I was feeling. Without a doubt, he told me there was nothing wrong, but he also acknowledged that her actions were impolite. We decided that he would swing by and give her the contact information for the men he knows who work in maintenance. She's been chilly towards us. The second incident took place in our neighborhood park during a cookout hosted by the community. While the kids ran around, the adults chatted away in our lawn chairs about anything. Aide spoke up and expressed her gratitude to each and every one of us, including me, for our assistance. I felt a little angry, as if God had slapped me, and I just said, well, baking a gift for my husband only and saying his wife and daughters aren't included is strange too. Another neighbor interrupted, making it awkward. It was strange how you basically forbade your husband to come over to help anymore. There must be rumors and such. I understand that she must still be mourning, but perhaps all she wants is someone to support her. However, I felt disrespected by the incident involving the cookies and the barbecue. My spouse is not thrilled with my response, saying I should have just let her talk and that it's not my place to check others. All I really want to know, I suppose, is if I was a jealous fool the entire time. Really, I don't have anyone with whom I could discuss this directly. Not the fool. The cookies thing was strange, but I see that she's mourning and probably not in her right mind. Saying, I made them for your husband as a thanks for all the work he's done for me would have been a reasonable statement. But it seems strange to imply they're only for him. And up until she called you out in public, you were kindly ignoring it. It is reasonable to respond to her in public, and really, how much assistance with do-it-yourself projects and housekeeping does one need? Her spouse passed away 2 months ago, and your husband has had to go over several times. I don't have people phoning me on a monthly basis, much less a weekly basis. I'm a single woman who is hopeless at do-it-yourself projects and needs help fixing practically everything. I'm not sure what upkeep her house requires. Maybe that. I know some houses need small repairs. My spouse talks about ventilation and plumbing all the time. The way your husband responded is really worrying. I believe he's going above and above. After your husband passes away, you don't call your neighbor to perform an extremely complicated repair for free when the primary ventilation and plumbing systems, 2 important systems, break. Very sus. That reply gave me the impression that, if you get what I mean, he is literally installing pipe to take care of the neighbor's plumbing needs. I believe she is deliberately damaging things to get him to come over because she wants that and is upset that OP ruined her plan to snatch him away. She shot at OP, who retaliated, and the husband chose to stand with her rather than his wife. You seem to be absolutely certain, OP, that your husband is innocent. Perhaps he is. But then why did he select her? Is he secretly annoyed by OP's interference and enjoys the attention? Well, the hubs might not have cheated, but he was obviously too simple-minded to realize where this was going. I, a man, wanted to make my 26-year-old girlfriend's birthday more memorable. After much deliberation, I chose to give her a personalized photo album filled with images from the past several years of our time together. In addition, I wrote her a sincere letter outlining how much she means to me and how much I love her. She opened the gift in front of our friends and family at her celebration when it was her turn to do so. She even pulled a face, indicating that she wasn't too impressed. "Wow, this is it? You're such a cheapskate," she exclaimed in front of everyone. I felt ashamed and in disbelief. She was obviously anticipating something more expensive because people were laughing awkwardly around her. I was wounded by her response, especially since I had given the gift a lot of thinking and preparation. I gently excused myself and left the party after a few minutes. I didn't want to make a scene, but I was stuck in a humiliating place. When I contacted my girlfriend Elle, she told me everything was all in good humor and that I overreacted by leaving the party. Furthermore, because the gift wasn't pricey, she accused me of not trying hard enough. I told her how my feelings were hurt and how I felt disrespected. I'm starting to wonder if leaving the party was the right decision. I got dubbed a cheapskate for the gift I got my girlfriend. So am I the idiot for leaving her birthday party, not the fool? OP, you have to quit blaming yourself for your girlfriend's bad behavior and start valuing yourself more. Even though she didn't like the gift, which was incredibly considerate, by the way, you deserve far better than her. Her trap ought to have remained closed. Anyone can see that she is only interested in money, not in you. When she's single, I wonder how much she'll detest the gift. No, she'll tell everyone he wasn't a real man and throw it in the garage. She embarrassed and chastised you in front of her visitors. She then proceeded to hurt your feelings by gaslighting, guilt-tripping, and shaming you. Is this what you really want from someone who should value, respect, and cherish you? You ask yourself. Yes, and I think you got away quite lucky this time. A well-considered present demonstrates the time and effort you're investing in taking into account her hobbies and relationship with you. To be minimized only because it wasn't a high-value item monetarily speaks volumes about her moral character. The question now is whether she values material possessions more than the affection and love you provide a relationship, not whether she appreciated the gift. Undermining your work in front of so many people is not a sign of gratitude or respect. Recall that the price of a gift does not indicate how much you love them. When my mom was pregnant with me, my parents got divorced. When I was 5 years old, my dad returned from his time in the military, broken by what he had witnessed, and he was never the same. He was doing pretty poorly and turned to narcotics because therapy and medicine weren't working for him. I knew he was experiencing flashbacks and reliving events while I was there because I would see him cry a lot and clutch his head, but I never felt scared. I was just sad that my dad was in pain. Even when my mom filed a lawsuit to gain full custody, I continued to visit my dad every other weekend. My mother detested it and made an effort to stop it, but the therapist assigned by the court insisted that I should still spend every other weekend with Dad. When I was 9, Mom married Dan. Following their marriage, the two of them asked me how I wanted Dan to officially become my father so that the three of us could become a family. I informed them that I didn't want another father because I already had one. When we returned to court, I learned from the judge that Mama had attempted to take away Dad's parental rights by filing a petition asking Dan to adopt me. When the judge asked me how I felt about it, I begged him not to because I was so afraid he would do it. I expressed my desire to not have Dan as my father and to not lose my father. After listening, the judge rejected the adoption request. Dan and Mom are still at odds over my seeing Dad. Several times during the week, Mom has taken my phone away from me because Dad and I would text. Mom warned me when I was 12 that Dad would choose medicine over me, but now that I had Dan, he would never treat me that way. She assured me that he would make a far better dad. I informed her that regardless of how much he despises or believes Dad is awful, I don't think Dan is my father. I cherish him. Dan has made several requests to adopt me. He declared his love for me and his sincere desire to be able to take care of me. He told me he would hate to see me live with Dad and take care of him if something were to happen to Mom. I informed him that I would prefer to be with my father than to remain with someone else. A few instances he became angry, and on other occasions he informed me that I was acting too young. Well, I'm a teenager now. My mother made the decision to speak with Dad and request that he voluntarily give up his rights so that Dan could adopt me. In exchange, she allowed Dan to speak with me once a week and see me once every 2 months. When Dad refused, Mom cursed him out. I waited until she was finished before telling her to move on, because I would never allow her husband to adopt me. She said she didn't understand why I would write off a wonderful man who genuinely cares about me and would go to any lengths to help me come off my medications. Dan doesn't have to deal with the demons my dad does, I assured her. She said that I would later regret my choice and that my stubbornness was unjustified. Am I the foolish one? Not the fool. I don't want you to ignore the fact that your dad has a major addiction and that it's unlikely that he could care for you on his own in the event that things got out of control. But it's just a hypothetical situation, much like Dan taking care of you on his own. However, it's clear that's not the point of this. It's wonderful that your mother has moved on and is happy with her new spouse. However, it appears that she is utterly unaware of the fact that although her romantic relationship with your father has ended, your family's relationship with him will never end. He is and will always be your dad. She's hiding the fact that Dan isn't your biological parent in an attempt to create the illusion of a picture-perfect little family, and they're both really pressuring you to comply. Parental alienation is what this is, and it's illegal. My sister is accustomed to living a comfortable life. Honestly, she's earned it via hard work. She's the only one in our working-class family who has a bachelor's degree. However, she also has high expectations. In particular, she frequently laments her lack of sleep. She laments the exhaustion of parenthood, having a kindergartner and a pre-tween. Since her spouse is a partner in their accounting firm, and she is an accountant, she didn't need to work full-time while the children were small. Her husband drops her off at school now that they are in session, allowing her to go to the gym. Every week, they also hire cleaners. In order to spend a night out alone, they also employ a babysitter once a week. They frequently take getaways and vacations to the mountains. She took a month off work throughout her pregnancy and spent 5 to 7 months at home with each child. I had to return to work as soon as I gave baby. I'm now my son's only carer because my ex and I can hardly make ends meet. I'm in big trouble because my ex now works for cash and doesn't disclose the majority of his income. He attends nursery, which costs the most of my money, and I'm constantly tired. I also have problems, but when she answers with more complaints, it irritates me. It's comparable to a millionaire whining about poverty next to a college student. When I called her, I snapped. When she inquired how I was, I told her that I was quite weary, and she concurred. She's the most privileged mother I know, so I told her it's not the same and that she should really be aware of who she's complaining to. After hanging up, she texted me, accusing me of being a witch, and I suppose I was, but I'm over her constant whining. It's a bit lacking in tone. It's okay for everyone to be exhausted. Report your ex and his job to the IRS if you're sick and tired of him working under the table, because you're screwed. It isn't a contest. This ain't no Olympics. It's you who is the fool. She is not well off. Getting things you didn't earn makes you privileged, and that's not what you're talking about here. Both of you made decisions in life. Although hers seems to have placed her in a better situation, she is still employed and a mother of 2 small children. Thus, it is possible for her to be fatigued as well. Although it seems like you need to get over your jealousy of your sister, it was inappropriate to refer to her as privileged. She sounds like an ordinary person who gets good things because she and her spouse work for them, not like a pampered brat. Who needs enemies when you have a family like yours? I am more generous with those I detest than you are with your own reluctantly, confessedly hard-working sister.